Hi. What's up? I'm Amanda Cassatt, founder and CEO of Serotonin, which I'm barely going to talk about, except for inasmuch as my job lets me learn about new tech and science innovations before they hit the market, which is probably the most fun part about it. I want to talk today about an observation I had when I was first tasked with bringing Ethereum to market, which was my first job in Web3 when I was Chief Marketing Officer at Consensus. And the thing that I observed was that we were successful not just because we had amazing marketing strategies or because Ethereum's a great technology, but because our movement was able to offer people a positive sense of the future that they could connect to their identity. And you see this today in all the people that have .eth after their name on Twitter. And it's still something that's really alive in the community. So I want to talk about technology accelerationism, not just as a movement, but as a great strategy for how to get people excited about what you're building. I really think that we're in a Renaissance-like time. This is the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo. Humbly, it was the original Serotonin logo. And it's because I think we're in a very special position here at Boys Club. We're people that can kind of paint into the world, similar to that painting, what we want to exist. And that can be frontier technologies if we make it so, and we live in one of the most exciting times. The time that we live in really started with the Enlightenment, and here we have René Descartes, we have Francis Bacon, two of the dudes that are credited with coming up with the scientific method, which basically enabled us to have a repeatable process to learn about the world. Then we get Sir Isaac Newton, who created Newtonian physics, which, again, helped us understand the laws of nature so we could harness them. And then from those innovations, we get the steam engine a little bit later. And what that was is basically taking energy and making us able to use it efficiently so that we can get it to do work. So what happened here is we expanded human creativity by discovering some of these laws. That helped us be able to harness physical energy. And the result was being able to achieve power over nature. So we unlocked these resources in ourselves that let us unlock resources in the physical world, which had the effect of us unlocking even more resources through our own creativity. And this is what we can do today. That's the process we're all participating in. This is something that accelerationists talk about called dissipative adaptation, which is basically the idea that life emerged from this thermodynamic process where a bunch of matter reached out and grabbed the free energy around it and turned it into entropy, thereby replicating their own life, and that the universe favors futures where we keep doing this kind of thing. This is the same process that we saw with the Enlightenment. So how do we do this ourselves? How do we use technology to unlock human creativity in order to increase our power over the world and make our lives better? It's with the technologies of our time. And the thing that these technologies have in common, which is completely awesome and unique, is that they're democratizing and lowering the barrier to entry for anybody to be able to create. And so obviously the internet did a lot of things, but one of the most interesting is it enabled anyone to be a creator and to potentially reach up to 5 billion people with what they create. Blockchain, crypto, it has done a lot of things. It's enabled cross-border payments. It means you can pay anyone anywhere with an on-chain currency. But what it's also done, possibly most importantly, is it means that anyone can become an entrepreneur because anyone can program with value. How many people here, show of hands, are in some way, anyway, a creator? How many people here are in some way, anyway, an entrepreneur? How many people are a computer programmer? Right. So AI, one of the coolest things about it is that it's going to enable anyone to be a programmer, which means it enables anyone to basically do anything. That means science, that means data, it means robotics. You might have heard this expression, this phrase before, ubiquitous natural language computing. Natural language computing. But that's what's going to happen. This is going to be everywhere. AI is going to have a lot of effects, but this is going to be one of them. Everyone here is going to be able to program the universe. That's huge. It's totally imaginable to anyone who's seen Star Trek. When they're talking to their computer on the ship, they're not programming, they're not using a keyboard, they're talking. And that's what things are going to look like. And these phenomena are going to go together. These aren't happening in silos or in a vacuum. They're going to connect and enable us to unlock creativity like never before. So, by this definition, accelerationism is just this idea that we can use technology to solve our problems, like the 3 powerful ones that we just mentioned, and that because they offer us such powerful potential solutions that we might as well hurry up. That doesn't mean that there aren't great critiques and forks of accelerationism. Smart people have long thought of reasons to be worried, and there are some great reasons to be worried today. Is AI going to be misaligned with us and do things that we don't want? Is all of the money and power going to get concentrated in a couple of centralized companies? Is AI going to create content that's so addictive that we can't look away? Is human life going to be reduced to pushing a button because our desires are going to be so accessible? These are all great questions. And I don't think the way to answer them is to pass the hot potato to regulators, a group of people that hasn't shown itself to be particularly more competent than innovators, just a group of fallible humans over here, group of fallible humans over there. I think it's something for everyone in this room to hold on to the hot potato and ask the questions and make those forks of accelerationism, whether that's decentralized accelerationism like Vitalik has proposed, whether it's some of the effective accelerationist ideas that we've gotten on X and from folks like Beth Bezos, coming up with our own forks. Yeah, Beth Bezos, that's his actual name on Twitter. Coming up with our own forks and thoughtfully participating in these movements in ways that reflect our values. So where do we start? A great place to start is, where is creativity trapped? And I will give you some examples of annoying spots that creativity are trapped that we can try to address. One is financial systems. So we've got these creaky old legacy financial systems that are gate-kept, so it's hard to participate, that are very slow. Settlement can be super slow, that make it really hard to pay between countries, and all kinds of other stuff, right? Like in the US, people that aren't millionaires aren't able to buy private equity, which is generally the best performing asset, and that's scandalous. So there are all kinds of great ways with Web3, especially, that we are improving this to unlock creativity and value creation. Energy. The actual Jeff Bezos said this on the Lex Fridman podcast, and I thought it was really clever, which is that human life has gotten better proportionally to the average amount of energy use. And that means getting really thoughtful about things like nuclear fusion, making that happen. It means thinking about digital spaces in unique ways. Like, what's the energy cost of a street light in the metaverse versus a street light IRL? Maybe if we can create lush, gorgeous sensory experiences that are digital, that's going to have some kind of positive energy impact. Just something to think about. Definitely worth working on. A huge grail for humans. Governance. Probably trillions of dollars of GDP is trapped inside of places with bad governance. And on one hand, that can be places where people don't have access to services, but on the other, it can be places that are over-regulated. So in the States, for example, we aren't making drones. China's making drones because the FAA basically banned drones in the US. The FDA's made it so it's very hard to try anything because someone might get harmed. And even if you're a consenting adult, it's very hard to get any kind of experimental treatments, even if you're pretty sick. So there's one side of value lock that's underserviced places and another that's overregulated places. And there's some interesting solutions emerging to both of those. And then health, right? We're still in these physical bodies. We have disease, we have death, and we have a loss of reproductive health. And there are some really interesting things happening in reprotech. Some thinkers now, like Aubrey de Grey, think that people living today might be able to avoid death and achieve life extension escape velocity in our life. Very cool grail to work on. If you've read Lifespan by David Sinclair, chair of genetics at Harvard, there are menopausal horses that have been given tons of NAD+ that have become fertile again. Very exciting and weird. There are mice that have used a process, or they haven't used it, in a lab, read Hacking Darwin, that through something called IVG, they've been able to make gamete cells out of non-gamete cells, and so they can make male and female gamete cells, sperm and eggs, and they made a mouse baby from 2 male mice. Super fascinating. There's a great project called Colossal by George Church, who's the founder of modern genomics, that is recreating a live woolly mammoth, which involves making an artificial womb. So these things are actually coming pretty soon. Shout out to Athena Dow and Laura Minkini for telling me about some of these things. They're awesome, and it's DeSci and crypto funding contributing to a lot of them. There's cool stuff happening, and these things all go together. There's a lot of innovation happening in governance, too. This is Prospera, which is an island in Honduras that's a special economic zone that's become a destination for medical tourism. This is Zuzalu, a network state that Vitalik founded, along with some other folks. Imagine living in a state where you agree with everyone on what the criteria for entry should be, the modes of value creation and sharing, what kinds of services should be provided. And then Vitalia, which happened in Prospera, which was a spin-off of Zuzalu, where the motto is making death optional. And all of these network states aren't just about dropping out of the system and doing your own thing. It's about small jurisdictions putting pressure on nation states and larger jurisdictions to open up creativity, to open up their governance so that more can be created. So I hope those are interesting and kind of broke some of us out of our bubble of, it can feel like we're in sort of a retirement home and nothing new is actually being created. So hopefully those feel like alive ideas, because they're real and they're happening in the world. What got us here won't get us there. In some of these industries like crypto, there's sometimes a certain OGism where people don't want to invite new people into our movement. I think the opposite is true. What are the chances that the professionals that are already here are the very, very best? They're tiny because we're a very small group of people. So we need to open up our communities and open up our world to new people in order to drive a lot of these technologies to their super beneficial conclusions. Which brings me back to Serotonin and what we do. We're the first largest Web3 native marketing firm. We also work with a number of the other technologies that I mentioned. We are hiring, and we also do other professional services other than marketing, like recruiting, like advisory. So whatever you do, come check us out, serotonin.co. Definitely look at our job board and check out some of the work that we've done. I wrote a book, Web3 Marketing, goes a lot more into the Web3 and Ethereum story. And thank you so much. Hope this was interesting.